assigned to a judge who was appointed by President Trump. It's a related case to another case, and it deals with what's called a Bivens action. And that's when federal officials violate the constitutional rights of an individual such as Ryan, who's running, of course, for governor. Now, the case wasn't brought for political purposes. I brought it in my private capacity. But the case deals with the violation leading up to the standoff, the threats against the Bundy family and the peaceful protesters, the assaults, the killing of cattle, the illegal seizure of land, which is owned by the people of Clark County and Nevada, not by the federal government. And Cliven, I brought a case for him in state court to have the land declared owned by the people of Nevada. This is an extremely important case. It also deals with the Religious Restoration Act, Religious Freedom Restoration Act, because we know from the whistleblower Larry Wooten, who was revealed during the trial of the Bundys, of Ryan, of Cliven, of Ammon, and Ryan Payne, that this whistleblower revealed prejudice against people of the Seventh-day Adventist faith, Mormons.
Sorry, that's incorrect. It's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Excuse me, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church. And it's extremely important that we preserve religious rights in this country, because without that, we wouldn't have a country. So therefore, Ryan's constitutional rights were violated. His right of free speech, his right of religion, his right to be secure in his body. In other words, there were Fourth Amendment violations, unreasonable searches and seizures, violations of his physical self. And the complaint is against the individuals who ordered these illegal actions. Everybody from former Attorney General Loretta Lynch to the Attorney General before that, Eric Holder, to Neil Cornsey, the hand-picked head of the Bureau of Land Management, and even current Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who I asked for a year to look into the case, to have it dismissed because it's a political prosecution, or you could say persecution. He sat there, he did nothing, and then after Judge Navarro dismissed the case because there was all this prosecutorial misconduct and abuse and violation of constitutional rights and lying by the prosecutors to the judge, what did Sessions do? He filed a notice of appeal. He had his lawyers do that, ratifying all of these illegal actions. So these cases ask for very large damages for Ryan Bundy. The complaint doesn't specify the amount. It's going to be decided by a jury, but we're not doing this for the damages. We're doing it for the principle, because now I'm talking in my personal capacity. I haven't endorsed anybody in my life except for Ryan, believe it or not. And I endorsed Ryan personally. The case was not brought for that purpose because he's the one person running for governor who has principles. He's the person who stands for something. He's sticking his neck out like he did at Bunkerville. He risked life imprisonment to prove a point. He wouldn't plead out. They were willing to let the Bundys go for time served, which is, completely illegal. They were kept incarcerated for 2 years, not even allowed bail. But Ryan stood on principle. So did Cliven, and so did the rest of the Bundy family. And these are the people you need leading this state. And with regard to the case that Cliven brought for the land belongs to the people of Clark County in Nevada. The federal government didn't even have jurisdiction to go on the property. And we're asking for a declaratory judgment from a state court judge that the land belongs to us. I consider myself an honorary Nevadan at this point. So this is why this family is so exceptional. And I might add, Hollywood's actually picked up on it. There's 2 shows, one called Heartland on Netflix, which is about a family like the Bundy family. And there's another one called Yellowstone, where Kevin Costner is the lead character. Now, Kevin Costner has 2 sides. Ryan and Cliven only have a good side. But you see, people understand that in this country, the land is everything. This land is our land. This belongs to the people of Clark County, Nevada, and the American people, not the federal government. And that's what made the West great. And when this indictment was thrown out, and Ryan was largely responsible for that, he was representing himself pro se, he in effect had it declared this land is our land, and he stood there for you. And as governor, he will stand there for the people of Nevada. So I want to turn it over to Ryan right now to talk. I don't want to do all the talking, but I'll tell you something. The reason that I represent Ryan and Cliven and others in the family is because I love this family. They stand for something. They will fight, and they'll take risks just like our founding fathers. And that's what you need for governor. You don't need two politicians, Democrat and Republican, who stand for nothing. One of them, even 12 family members, came out against him. They're not bad people, but the reality is they're do-nothing political poles. This guy is going to represent the people of Nevada. Ryan?
Thank you.
Here, here.
So I do have a written statement. I'm going to read it real quick. It's not very long, but I'm going to say that my family and I are widely known for our stance we took in April of 2014 against the federal government in Bunkerville, Nevada. Most of you know that we've stood up for and defended our vested grazing and water rights that have been registered with Nevada for over 100 years. The federal government unlawfully retaliated against my family for defending our rights by attacking or stacking criminal charges against us and scores of other honorable men who came to assemble with us. In January of this year, all criminal charges were dropped against my father, Cliven, my brothers Ammon, Mel, and Davy, and myself for the federal government's failure to prosecute their vengeful and frivolous charges honorably. They were unable to be honorable because they were at fault and were caught committing fraud upon the court and this people by concealing vital evidence that would prove that they were criminals in Bunkerville that day. The federal government was caught red-handed in their conspiracy against my family when they concealed evidence proved far beyond reasonable doubt that their goal was to murder our family as well as other people who assembled with us. They wanted us dead and were willing to accomplish that goal by either a bullet from their gun or by placing us behind steel bars for the rest of our lives. The federal government has no rightful claim to own land within an admitted state of the Union. Its claim to almost 90% of Nevada is fraudulent and unconstitutional. Nevada can not only own 10% of its land and resources and still be considered an equal state in all respects to the original 13 states as is required. Today is Nevada's 154th anniversary. It is also my birthday. I feel Nevada's birthday is an appropriate day to announce this civil action as this case, where we will show Nevada's people how to fight for her land and natural resources and to be the sole benefit for her people. I have faced the federal government 3 times, twice in court and once in Bunkerville, and we have been victorious every time. I will do so again, and intent is to serve the people and not the other way around. I am running to be Nevada's next governor, and as yours and mine, I intend to empower and protect Nevadans who exercise their rights, and I will not pander to the federal government's unconstitutional overreach, but will rein it back by the authority of the 10th Amendment. This lawsuit is an effort. We have said all along that we will do whatever it takes. This is just one more step and one more thing in whatever it takes to bring liberty and freedom back to Nevada. And this case will hopefully correct some of the erroneous atrocities that our federal government is doing to people in court, where they're using unfair trial practices, denying people the right to a speedy trial, denying them to a fair trial. They use lies and manipulations, false testimonies, withholding evidence. These things have been brought to light through their charges against us, and this is the basis for our lawsuit. And so we hope to remedy some of these problems through this lawsuit. Thank you.
Bundy for governor.
Before we do that, let me have Cliven say a few words here. My good friend and client Cliven as well.
I welcome you, the media, here this morning. I want to say good morning to America, and I want to say good morning to the people of this world. I want to express my love and thanks for all of the things, all the prayers and all the thoughts and all the efforts that you put forth to uphold liberty and freedom in this land. And I want to look at my son here and wish him a happy birthday today. It's been
Thank you.
and let you know that I love him very much and trust him with this state of Nevada. I trust him to be our next governor of the state of Nevada.
Amen.
And I just want to tell you that freedom and liberty is not free. We have to fight for it. And we got to do whatever it takes. Nevada's sovereignty, we got to do whatever it takes to make sure that we have an equal footing within the rest of the states of the United States. I want to recognize that we are sovereign here. And the county of Clark County, which is part of is a subdivision of the state of Nevada, the people of the Clark County owns this land. This is their land. This is their resource, and we're here to protect them. And we want to be able to use these resources. We want to be able to enjoy this land, and it is a promised land, a very special place. And what a beautiful day! And good morning. Thank you.
When it comes to the lawsuit, you described it as a large amount of damages that's going to go to a jury. Any indication when it comes to at least a range of what that means?
We're going to let the jury determine that. The lawsuit doesn't list the number of damages or the amount, because I didn't want people to think, Ryan didn't want people to think that we did it for the money. We didn't do it for the money. But if we get a judgment here against the government, the way you can keep them from doing this again, and it would not actually be against the government, it would be against the individuals. It would be against Jeff Sessions, Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, and Neil Cornsey. It would be against them personally. If we can get a judgment in the millions of dollars, that will be an example for them, a lesson for people like them in the federal government, not to violate the constitutional rights of other Americans.
In addition to the damages and the declaration of the land, what's the end goal here?
The end goal is justice, is that nothing has been closed yet. It's unbelievable that the Attorney General of the United States, Jeff Sessions, who I spoke with on a cell phone back almost a year and a half ago, and he said he would review this case, never reviewed it, but in fact he rubber stamped what these corrupt federal officials were doing, both in the lead up to the successful standoff and in court there. And that's why I said, we're here at the scene of the crime. The crime wasn't committed by the Bundys, it was committed by the people inside that courthouse and in Washington, D.C. And so that's the goal here, and we want to hold Sessions accountable too, because he's responsible. And what did he do just about 2 months ago? He authorized his prosecutors to file a notice of appeal after Judge Navarro, who's not a natural friend of the Bundys, who was appointed by Harry Reid, who called my clients domestic terrorists, who was appointed by Barack Obama, who made statements about Cliven at a White House Correspondents' Dinner that were disparaging. Sessions wouldn't even accept what Judge Navarro said, and she finally issued an honest ruling, and he orders that his prosecutors appeal the case. That's despicable, and consequently he needs to be held accountable as well.
So just to clarify, this is not a lawsuit against any body of government or the courts, it's individual people that are named.
It's nonpartisan. It's called a Bivens action. It's when a federal official violates the constitutional rights of an American citizen, in this case, a citizen of Clark County and Nevada, Ryan. They can be held personally accountable for doing it.
When one of the employees or agents of the federal government or any other government step outside the bounds of their employment, outside the bounds which they are to operate in, then they become personally liable for their actions. And so that's where our lawsuits are. They have stepped outside the bounds of the Constitution and have violated my rights, my father's rights, my brother's, and all of us that they have prosecuted and incarcerated. And so that's what this lawsuit is for and against.
Let me make one other statement. We've seen lately a lot of corruption at the Justice Department and the FBI with regard to both political parties. And this is another example of that corruption with our justice system that has completely become corrupt. I'm an alumnus of the U.S. Department of Justice. I was a trial lawyer, federal prosecutor, and defense lawyer. I was proud once to be from there. But this has turned into the Department of Cover-Up and Injustice. And that's another thing that needs to be cleaned out. And this case will help do that by holding officials of the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Land Management accountable for their illegal and unconstitutional actions. Officials going forward have to know that they're not above the law, that they can be held accountable. And that's what Ryan's seeking to do for the people of Nevada, the people of Clark County, and the people of the United States.
Mr. Ryan Bundy, you noted birthday of the state and your birthday
Yes.
as timing for this. It's also less than a week before the election. Is the lawsuit timed, directly asked, is the lawsuit timed to affect the election?
It will probably affect the election.
How do you think it will?
Well, people see that I am going to do something. I'm going to be active. I'm not just going to stand by as some of my competitors in the campaign have done, where they have been in position to stand up for Nevada's rights and yet have failed to do so. Both of them are lackeys, as their names indicate. But they have both failed to protect Nevada and her rights, and I intend to do so, and this lawsuit is part of that.
And I might add that I started preparing this lawsuit a long time ago, before even Ryan announced, right after the Judge at Navarro dismissed the indictment. But yes, it does come up at a time, and it does tell the people of Nevada and Clark County who's the real deal. This is the real deal. The others are phonies. They don't stand for anything. The Bundy family stands for American values and the values of the people of Nevada.
Greatest blessing to this whole country is the Bundy family.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
There are several references in the lawsuit to your religion and assertions that your religious rights were violated. Can you give us a short, tell us how you feel your religious rights were violated by the government?
Again, a lot of that was revealed through the Wooten letter, wherein through his investigations, there was numerous disparaging comments and actions taken against us for our religion. In fact, Larry Wooten himself was asked several times whether or not he was Mormon, so as not to, I don't know what the purpose of that was, but if they're disparaging us, they were trying to see where he fit into the game. Furthermore, our religious rights were violated while we were incarcerated, wherein we were stripped numerous times. We finally fought against that and said no longer will we be stripped. We were placed in solitary confinement. Of the 2 years that I was incarcerated, I spent nearly a year of that in solitary confinement, much of the time because of my refusal to strip according to their dictates because of my religious views. And so those and a few others are, in a nutshell, where we're at.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
What's the status of the state suit?
That's moving forward. I hope that when Ryan becomes governor, he will take control. And I want the state to join us in that case to ask the court to have the land declared that it's owned by the people of Clark County, Nevada. So if Ryan wins, that'll happen. And, why shouldn't the people of Nevada own their own land? They're not interlopers. This land belongs to us. This land is our land.
Mr. Cliven, has that state case been served?
It hasn't been served yet. I've been waiting until the end of this election to serve it, but it's been filed and it's teed up and ready to go. Because frankly, I want to see who's going to emerge, and I believe this guy will, and that'll make the case real easy.
I got a question. How are the cows?
I spent 700 days in jail, and I have to give thanks to my wife first and the family and friends. They was able to maintain that. When I got home, I still had a ranch. I still had cows out on the range, and the farm has been producing real good this summer. I got home in time to raise a crop of melons, so I got some good melons, and the cattle are doing good. We've been blessed with rain within the last week, and now the Bundy Ranch is starting to turn green, and that's a good feeling, yeah. And fat is beauty for a rancher, and my cattle are in good shape. And with the green, they're going to be fat once more. And anyway, so I thank America. I thank the opportunity to be a rancher and get out there. And I've got calluses on my hands again. So I'm really enjoying life, enjoying my family, enjoying my ranch, and I enjoy people also. I'm happy with happy with everybody in America. There's a lot of good here. We got to look at the good, and we in America are blessed. I'll tell you that. We're lived in a blessed country, and we have plenty, and we want everybody to have plenty and be happy. That's sort of our attitude.
Last rancher standing right there.
I'd like to make one more statement. Along with that, what my father said, I want to put out a special thanks to all of those who came and assembled with us in 2014. They saved our life, they saved our livelihood, they saved our property, and I give much credit to them. And they are heroes and deserving of medals of honor, not prosecutions.
Let me add there two of those individuals, Rick Loveland and Stephen Stewart, has another lawsuit that's similar to Cliven's that I brought for them. And there was absolutely no evidence to convict them. They were just thrown in with everybody else. Government didn't even present evidence. No closing statements were even made. This is an outrage that people were indicted and incarcerated for 2 years. And the government didn't even present any evidence to speak of at the trial. And it shows you the criminality of the people in Washington, D.C. who ordered this to happen from both political parties.
See, and on that note, again, one of the main purposes for this suit is because the age-old principle in America that we are innocent until proven guilty was violated terribly. Just the example of these two men that he spoke about, as well as the rest of us, we were placed in incarceration, imprisonment, and the courts want to say that this is not punishment, and yet we were side by side with murderers and others who were guilty of crimes, and yet somehow or another our time there was not punishment and theirs was. That's an atrocity. When you're innocent until proven guilty, you should be treated as though you're innocent, not treated as though you're guilty until you're proven innocent. That's backwards. And so that has to stop. That has to stop in America.
And I'd like to make a statement about Todd Engel and Greg Burleson.
Yes.
You know, those men are still in jail. And before the Bundy standoff, I never seen or knew either one of those men. I never knew them until I met them in jail. That's the first time I met them. They spent less than 90 minutes on Bundy Ranch. And they never even already was in eyesight of a federal agent. And it was no closer than maybe 300 or 400 yards from any one of them. And yet there's Todd Engel has been sentenced to 14 years in jail, 14-year prison sentence. And Greg Burleson, if I'm not 68 years. That's both of them are basically serving a life sentence. Where is the justice? They didn't do anything. They didn't harm anybody. They didn't say anything. They didn't even hardly look at anybody, and yet they're in jail. Where is our justice system? Why aren't those people proved innocent? The rest of us, the charges have been dropped on us, but yet they're still in prison, and they're basically their life term. Like Ryan said, they come to shoot us, to kill us. They didn't get that done. They didn't get that done to the Bundy family in their court system, but they picked on two men and they've got them in there for life.
These men are not guilty of crimes regardless of what the outcome of those trials were. Again, fair practices were not adhered to. Lies and manipulations took place, and this is why they were convicted. Not because of fair trial, but because of the criminal actions of the government not giving them fair trial.
What are the charges that they were convicted of?
Let's see, they weren't convicted of all the charges they were accused of. I'm not exactly sure which ones without looking at the deal, but the point being is that they cannot be guilty and we not be guilty. And we can't be innocent and they be guilty. It's the same case, the same set of facts, the same indictment, the same charges. They did put them through a different trial group, okay? And yet, so how could the outcome of one trial be just and the other one be just also when they're completely opposite?
And the important point is that during that earlier trial, it wasn't known that the government was hiding Brady material and exculpatory evidence. It wasn't known yet. the extent to which the government was lying. And I'm not just talking about FBI, Bureau of Land Management, I'm talking about the prosecutors who also lied straight up to the face of Judge Navarro. And that obviously had an impact on her, because as the Las Vegas Review-Journal had said in an editorial before that, the prosecutors have a friend in Judge Navarro. Well, that flipped it, and she was no longer a friend of the prosecutors. I give her credit for that, because not only did she have to dismiss the case for the defendants, but she had to do it for herself too. She's a federal judge. But the thing about that's really sad is that there are people like Pete Santilli, the radio talk show host, who took a plea bargain before all this was known, and now he's stuck with a record as a felon. And this is an outrage, and our Attorney General, who's hiding under his desk on a number of issues and will probably be gone in 2 weeks, according to our president, has been an absolute disgrace. He does not represent the people of the United States.
And our own county sheriff, Joseph Lombardo, testified in that trial against those two men, and he bold-faced lied. And we have video evidence and contrasted with the trial transcripts to show where he lied. But his lies also attributed to their convictions. Again, these men have not committed a crime, they have not harmed anyone, and there's no one who can claim victim. They are not guilty of a crime, and yet there they sit for years in prison. These men are heroes and should be given medals of honor for their for the reason that they were there, to protect lives and to prevent harm from taking place. And yet they have been convicted as criminals, wrongfully convicted, I will say.
Hopefully this case will catch the attention of the president and these people will be pardoned.
Okay, anything else?
Larry Cliven, as a top attorney in this entire country who stands for liberty, freedom, and justice, and constitutional law and order, I'd like to ask you if you're working with Jeanette Finicum on the U.S. government execution of her husband, LaVoy Finicum. Can you tell us anything about that? Do you know?
Well, I haven't been asked to. I have talked with her from time to time. I'd be very proud to help in that case.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Ryan.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
Woo-hoo!